Howdy. Hello. Hello. Howdy. Good afternoon and welcome to anybody who's joining us today. I know the time change threw me off. I'm sure it threw other people off, but I'm just, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to do my thing and people will join us to their watch later and it'll all be good. Okay. So we have to talk about this, right? Because this is just, let me see if I can get it open. There we go. You got to push it in a little bit. It's, whoop, that wasn't good. Okay. I know, it's kind of amazing. I went to Goodwill on Tuesday. I actually didn't see anything. And then all of a sudden I look like kind of out of the corner of my eye in the craft section and I see this. And can you guys, this is the best part. It's not a jewelry box. It's obviously for sewing. It's covered with all this like sewing, imagery. And it was just so cool. So I'm going to show you what's in here, but I'm going to show you some of the other stuff that was in here. These were in there. Almost killed myself with those. They were scary. These are sewing needles. Unfortunately, I don't know what the gauge is. I'm going to have to figure out the gauge. Hello, Olivia. How are you? This little I'm just going over what was in the sewing kit. All you missed is a couple needles. This thing was in there, which I thought was interesting because look at it, what it says. I remember when things like this were everywhere. So it's a little sewing kit from the funeral home. Cheery. A bunch of these metal bobbins, which these are great because if you have an older sewing machine, they want you to use a metal bobbin. And then also this kind of metal bobbin, which I'm not 100% sure, but the sewing machine that I trash picked off the side of the road, that Singer, that is still sitting over here and hasn't been fixed, I think these are the bobbins they use. So there were a bunch of those. There were some of them that still had thread on them. Oh, whoops. See, like this one and this one. And then, okay, I've never seen these, but they're paper bobbins and they have thread. And this thread's, it's not super heavy, but it's heavier. So not sure what those are all about. And it had not one, not two needle threaders, but 3. And this was so cool. I'm going to try and make sure it's centered so you guys can read these. And then you pop it open. And there's the needle threader and how to use the needle threader. So very cool. This had a lot of really interesting vintage type stuff like this. In here was also this Boyle needle company, which Boyle, if I remember correctly, is mostly embroidery needles. And the needle in here looks like a big old embroidery needle. There it is. But there's all this vintage ephemera to me is always really interesting. Like I just think it's really interesting. I'm sure not everybody does, but I do. Let me put this back together. I try and preserve all this because I may or may not sell it. There are people that are really into this. I mean, I think it's interesting, but I'm not super into it. Here's another sewing needle for a Simplicity sewing needle. I'm sorry, Singer sewing needle. Again, I don't know what the gauge. Oh no, this one does have the gauge. No, 16. Okay. And then there was this also, which again, like this vintage sewing needles with all this really cool like ephemera, which I find interesting. And I'm sure not everybody does, but I do find all this stuff really interesting. It's just cool looking, right? And this was the last one. This one, unfortunately, it lost its, it lost its label. So I don't know what company it is. Oh, Olivia's saying the time change got her too. Yeah, you have these too and don't know what they are, Olivia? Anybody who knows what these are, leave it in the comments, even if you do it later. It'd be cool to, I've never seen paper bobbins, so I don't know how you would use them, but Okay, this is so cute. It's literally the world's smallest little ruler. It's only 6 inches. Yes, I immediately, with my dirty mind, thought exactly that. I don't know what this is, but I have a feeling this might be a needle threader for a sewing machine. See if I get, see what I'm talking about? I think this might be a threader for a sewing machine. A thimble that actually is too big for my finger, which is amazing. Well, actually it fits this one, which is the one it's supposed to fit. So there you go, giving you guys the thimble. This, which doesn't have the stuff in it, but I've seen these before. These are for, they're magnifying glasses, and usually in here is the repair kit for your eyeglasses, but that's missing. And then there was more stuff in the bottom. Of course, there was stuff in here. So I found another vintage sewing needle thing, which all of these I can probably still use. This elastic, which is definitely old, but doesn't have that horrible elastic smell and is kind of still elasticy, if that's a word. More elastic, didn't open it yet. It's in its vintage packaging. And then this one's really vintage. No idea how old this is, but didn't open this one either. And then there were these. Okay, so this very first one, it's Imperial. Don't know what Imperial is. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Atlantic Imperial Gasoline. It says it right on the back. There we go. Atlantic Imperial Gasoline. Opened it up. And lo and behold, it's complete and unused. And let's face it, one of these needle threaders goes in here, right? I don't know which one, but maybe the smaller one. No, let me see. No, I think this bigger one does go in here. But just to find something like this, where nobody ever used the needles, and it's so cool. Like the ephemera is just so cool, right? And then there was this. This is the cutest little set of needles I've ever seen. How pretty is that? And this is from the, hold on a minute, doesn't say who it's from. So I guess this was something you purchased. It wasn't a, promotional item. Like a lot of these were promotional items. So that was the haul from here. It was, the thing that I really liked about this is, let me show you from the side. How cool is that? And when I first looked at it, I didn't notice all this stuff up here. And I thought, oh, it's a jewelry box and somebody put a bunch of sewing supplies in it. But then when I got closer and I realized, no, it's actually a sewing box. And it's got all of this, design on it that lets you know, hey, this is an actual sewing box. I was pretty stoked. So I grabbed it. It was, sorry, this is going to get loud for a minute. I want to say it was $4.99. I think it was $4.99. But whatever it was, I was in love with it. And it's that lovely girly pink. Then this week, I was working on a pattern and I found this. Remember these? Nobody knows. Before we scanned stuff, we wrote stuff out. But I thought it was cool. It's from Lansdale Discount House in Lansdale, PA. And she bought a $1 pattern and the tax was 6 cents. So this is, could have been 90s. I'm trying to remember when the tax was 6 cents. I think in the 90s, the tax was 6 cents in PA because I was living there then. And she paid her 6 cents tax and thank you, call again. I love all this stuff because we don't do this stuff anymore. It's, the world's a little more efficient, but it's also a little bit more impersonal. I'm going to move this just a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, so thank you, Pam Flynn says she loves these videos. Thank you, Pam. I was always wondering if anybody else would watch these videos because I watched them and then I started doing them and people started watching them. It's because I watch other people like Stephanie Canada. If you don't know who she is, watch her videos. She does these once in a while. And Angela Clayton, who actually has a line of patterns through, I think it's Butterick now. They're like costume and historical patterns. She does them, but the name of her channel for her sewing patterns is Curated and Counted, I think. So anyway, so I watch them. I don't know why I like to see a stream of patterns. I don't know. But anyway, right? So this week, still doing lots of 80s and 90s patterns, but I hit kind of like the mother load, not the mother load. I hit a plethora of 70s patterns, and they were, let's just say they were boss, because I remember when we used to call things boss, not like a boss. We used to say things were boss, like boss ride, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. See, Olivia's saying she watches them too, obviously, because you're watching me, Olivia, but you know what I mean? Like I don't know, there's something about them that's fun, right? All right. So I'm going to show you this one pattern. Oh, you're in Ireland, Pam? Hi, Pam. Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know. I did have a woman that watched me one time from Sweden. That was really awesome. So cool. So I'm going to start with this first 70s patterns. We'll do lots of 70s because I am not exaggerating when I tell you that I put the picture of this pattern online on Etsy, listed the price, did the whole thing, did the description. And when you sell on Etsy, you get this tone, and the tone is actually a cash register. So like whenever I hear it, I'm like, oh, great. I just sold a pattern on Etsy. So I get done doing some stuff and I go back to see which patterns, which pattern I sold. And lo and behold, it was this pattern. When I tell you this pattern was up online for 5 minutes, I'm not even kidding. It's a bibbed overall that crosses in the back. It comes with the shirt, right? This shirt that comes in two styles. It either has it with the loose like this or the elastic waist like this. This pattern may set the record for the fastest pattern ever sold. I sold it yesterday. Yesterday, I took a picture of it in the morning, put it up on Etsy, and all of a sudden heard cha-ching and was like, and I didn't even think it was that pattern. I just like to see which pattern sold. And there it was. Yeah. Yeah. Olivia's asking Pam if she's gearing up for St. Paddy's Day, which is according to my Irish relatives, very different in Ireland than it is here. It's more about religion, less about drinking. But what I can say is I am gearing up for corned beef and cabbage because I make it pretty much every year, and all the supermarkets have it on sale. So, all right, let's get back to, let me just grab a handful of patterns and we'll just take a look at them. All right. Okay. So just more 70s. Oh, the 70s. I got to tell you, as much as I love myself some 1940s clothes. Oh, by the way, lots of cottagecore too. Lots of cottagecore from 70s, 80s, 90s, 60s, like just tons of cottagecore. After doing all these 70s patterns, I realized I really like this kind of 70s style. I'm thinking that as I age, 70s style is going to be the style for me. Wrap skirts, tops like this, like knit, more like t-shirty knit tops, but not quite t-shirts. Really comfortable clothes. Culottes. I feel like culottes should make a comeback. They're like hidden pants, right? They're like secret pants and they seem just great. So I love this, by the way. This is all three tops, all three bottoms, so you can mix and match. Doesn't have any line drawings though, but very interesting. Really? So Olivia's saying she knows a couple from Ireland and they never heard of eating corned beef and cabbage for St. Paddy's Day, which is funny because my Irish relatives, it's ham and cabbage, not corned beef and cabbage. They like corned beef. They eat it, especially corned beef hash, but not so much corned beef and cabbage. Ham and cabbage is their big thing with cabbage. So, and then of course, my favorite, Bubble and Squeak. Yes, I'm a fan of Bubble and Squeak. If you don't know what that is, it's cabbage and potatoes, and I put onions in mine, and you can put bacon or ham or whatever you got laying around. You can do a vegetarian. I love it. This pattern, unfortunately, was cut, but I still put it up online because the only thing cut was the waistband. And I have to tell you, can we all see? Look at that pocket. This wrap skirt has a pocket kind of like the hoodies. It's even better on the line drawings. And I was like, that's awesome. How much crap I can carry in those pockets? Ooh, I wouldn't even need my purse anymore. Yeah, I think everybody I've talked to agrees about culottes because I love a skirt, especially in the summer. The problem with the skirts are if you're going to sit on the ground, is everybody going to see up your skirt? Is the wind going to blow your skirt up? Do you need to wear something under the skirt? Culottes, you're covered. It looks like a skirt, but it acts like shorts, and it's not a skirt. Okay, I love this dress. It's so cute. It's not my size, but it's so cute. This is the kind of dress I dreamed of when I was in like junior high. And, I would want my mom to buy me a dress like this. And actually, look at those shoes. I would take either pair of those shoes right now today as we speak. No problem. And speaking of, actually, just for giggles, I went on Land's End. I was looking for something else on Land's. I was actually looking for jeans. And I looked, and they had the most amazing, rope wedge sandals, and they had them in white. And I was like, I'm going to start my 70s wardrobe right there. Yes. Yeah. Olivia agrees with me. That pocket on that wrap skirt, that was amazing. The amount of stuff I could carry in that. I mean, you could technically shoplift if you wanted to. This outfit's so cute. And the thing that's so cute about it is look at that polo top. I remember when polo tops started to become really popular, like they always had them for men, but you didn't seem to see them for women as much. And then I remember kind of mid to late 70s, I think this pattern's 76, you started to see them like all over the place. Okay. This one warmed my heart because I remember these. It is the denim tuxedo. Look at that. Everything's denim. It's a denim 3-piece suit. You can obviously make it out of other stuff. It does also recommend canvas and bottom weight fabrics and things like that. But the very first fabric they list is denim. And I just looked at this and thought, wow. And I believe somebody on the front cover is wearing clogs. Oh, no clogs, but lots of nice wedge shoe. I love a wedge sandal. Oh, they're my favorite. Oh, the 70s. So boss. These two patterns are both 80s, and I'm sorry about the glare, but they were cut. So I put them up anyway because they were very cool, right? They were very cool. This top thing was cut. It's a separate piece from the rest of the dress. Sorry, and I didn't. Yeah, they also were really overstuffed. And this was really cool. This is just none of the shirts, the shirts are included. The shorts and the skirts, and somebody had cut the shorts. So they're up online. Most of this stuff, by the way, if you want to get a better view of these things, they're already up online. The one that I sold that I showed you first, I took a picture of it, and I was going to use it as the thumbnail. But as usual, I have to adjust the size because YouTube does not want me to use a thumbnail that's bigger than 2 it might be megapixels. Not sure. It's 2M, whatever it is. And that's 4M. So I don't know. Okay. This next pattern, I don't mean to sound rude, but the first time I saw it, all I could think of is it reminded me of the outfit that Jodie Foster wore in Taxi Driver when she was the 12-year-old prostitute. But I also remember people dressing like this, including my sister and my sister's friend Tracy. They definitely had outfits like this. This is for the shorts, the top, and the bell bottoms. And it is also boss. We're just going to deem all these patterns today are just their boss. Oh, ooh, talk about cottagecore, right? Okay, I wish the dress was included, but it's not. It's the peasant blouse and the bag. And this bag, the pattern comes with iron-on transfer so you can put your name on the bag. So it was a very interesting pattern. And the best thing is nobody ever used the iron-on transfer, so they're still in here. And speaking of culottes, look at this, the many moods of culottes. So this is like 6 different styles where they have different pleats, different pockets and stuff like that. But yeah, man, hidden pants, secret pants. Yay. More Boss 70s. Also cottagecore. Very cute. I remember having several tops exactly like this when I was in junior high and even in high school, actually. And this was cool. I don't remember ever seeing anything like this. So it's by McCall's and it's for stretch knits, and they show you how to sew the bra in so that you don't have to wear a bra with it. And I thought, well, that's great. This is a pattern they need to bring back. Okay, so Pam from Ireland is saying she does eat corned beef and cabbage. All right, so yeah, I'm still sick, by the way. I found a bunch of quick sews. So here's a dolman sleeve quick sew. These are all by Kirsten Martinson. I think she later sold the company because it's not the same quick sew that is around now. These are both very 80s patterns, especially this one. That dress really reminds me of the 80s. Oh, and another Boss pattern. Another Boss pattern. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. And, more wedges. I have yet to see the clogs, which is what I loved in the 70s. And then this is a skirt, not culottes. I thought it was culottes. It's not. It's a skirt. 3-piece suit. The 3-piece suit phase, that was another phase that I remember from the 70s. It may have been because of Annie Hall, but I'm not sure. But I just remember the 3-piece suit thing. That's a skirt, by the way. Isn't that cool? That's the first skirt ever known to women. I don't know if it's the first, but it looks like it might be the first. This pattern is from 1969, actually. I thought it was 70. It wasn't. It's from 69. Oh, here's another cut pattern that I put up there. So here's a stretch knit pattern. You can do either the regular t-shirt or the cropped t-shirt. It was cut. It's a Mrs. size. The long version was cut. It also has transfers in it. The transfers were never used. So the transfers are like the buzz off with the bee or the bicycle. They're still in there. They're still folded, and they were never used. So even though this was cut, and I normally don't put cut patterns, I've been putting cut patterns to the side. I just had to put that up online because it was just so cool. All right, so now the rest of these are really a mix kind of 70s, 80s, because I began to find more and more 80s patterns and even 90s patterns. So this one here, sorry again, ladies, but it's everything. It's like a jacket and then a long coat and a skirt and a blouse and everything else. And it's so thick that I couldn't get it back in the envelope, and the envelope's already in bad shape. So I had to put it in some plastic and take a picture of it, put it in plastic to kind of preserve it. That pattern's not up online yet. I didn't get to it yet. I ran out of time. These McCalls are not up online. Everything else is going to be up online. So I'll just show you these real quick. So again, some classic 90s cottagecore. And this actually has the applique pattern for this kind of stuff. No line drawings, but yeah, very, very cottagecore. And yeah, more 80s, more of that 80s drop waist, cottagecore-ish. Not as bad though. I actually think that little romper jumper thing's kind of cute. This pattern I thought was maternity until I really looked at it and realized that there was a half top version of it, because it really does look like maternity. I'm still on the fence about whether I'll list it. It doesn't have any line drawings. List it as a maternity pattern because, I mean, look, it really looks like a maternity pattern, but technically it's not. I'm really sure I already have this dress listed, but I'll check it out and I'll list it again. Just a really classic 70s, late 70s, early 80s dress. I think this is actually 1979. So this is just the cutoff before we go into the 80s. We have this thing. I also think I already have a copy of this somewhere. It's basically just like a sundress / muumuu / housecoat / see, my mom and my aunt used to wear these and they called them house dresses. And this next one to me is a muumuu. Sorry, looks like a muumuu, acts like a muumuu. It's a muumuu. I mean, they call it a sundress, but yeah, they call it a sundress. And it's fine, but it really looks like a muumuu, doesn't it? Oh, but how comfortable are these things, right? Just throw on and walk around the house in one of those instead of actually getting dressed. Remember when everybody was in lockdown for COVID and we were all just in our pajamas all day long? At least I was anyway. And in that same vein, we have even more. Just again, just like, really basic sundress / muumuu / whatever. More vests, because we love a vest. Obviously the 90s. Oh, no line drawings either. This is one of those, design your own vest. I hope I'm not repeating these. I hope these aren't ones from last week that I'm repeating because they kind of feel familiar, but so I'll go through them a little quicker because I'm starting to think we did do these last week. Sorry, I apologize if we did. Yeah, I think we did because I think I remember talking about this one, right? All right, sorry about that. So if you weren't here last week, you got to see them. Now, I know this one is new because I remember working on it on Monday. It's a nonstop pattern, just all the pieces. No line drawings, again. Okay. Ooh. I actually got a lot of patterns done this week. And I emptied out another bag this morning. I'm down to 2 bags. And this last bag that I was emptying out has we'll just call it the See and Sew bag. It was the bag that has the majority of her See and Sew patterns in it. So yeah, I might have to take a break at some point in time from the regular patterns and just work on the See and Sews because they're now completely taking over my spare bathroom. So we have an ESP trouser pattern, very basic. This dress is designed for stretch knits. It's very, very pretty, This pattern is interesting. It doesn't have the line drawing. The dress is actually the thing that's really interesting. The jacket makes it look kind of boring, but look at it with just the dress. It's a cute dress. I feel like the jacket doesn't do much for it. Such a classic 80s blouse, right? Am I right? This one too. Some 80s, basic 80s camp shirt. We used to call these camp shirts, the short sleeve ones. PJs, nightshirt, and robe. BBW pattern. And this just really basic separates pattern. And this really pretty suit. This is actually a really pretty, very pretty suit. Very Eastery, since we're about to get into that. Oh, and thank God I'll have off because the kids are working my last nerve. I'm telling you. And I'm not even their parent. I just drive the bus. Ugh. Can't imagine what the teachers or the parents are going through. Anyway. So when I was working on patterns this week, I found a new designer. You guys all have to tell me if you've ever heard of her. Phyllis Sidney. Never heard of her. Like this outfit though, because guess what? It's culottes, shorts and culottes. And look, the culottes have giant pockets so that you can also put lots of stuff in here. Because hooray for culottes, right? Oh, here's something else that I found that I thought was, Yeah, Olivia's saying she's never heard of her. I've never heard of her. I mean, I could just Google her, but honestly, I'm spending so much time putting the patterns up online. I'm not going to stop and Google one. So, um, a Simplicity Connoisseur pattern. Don't remember them doing this line. Whatever, obviously they did. It's a very nice trouser pattern. I'm really curious if this line was supposed to like compete with Vogue, because let me see if I get this, if I remember this. It's, oh, you know what? No, Simplicity and Vogue might be in the same house. Like Butterick is in the same house, I think, as Simplicity. Oh, now I can't remember. Anyway. Oh, a jumpsuit, because it wouldn't be the 80s without a jumpsuit. And I'm pretty sure that's velour. I think that's velour. It's designed for stretch knits, so that's good. In fact, did I put that? I might have to go back and check on that in the ad. Yeah, we loved velour too. This dress, which actually is just so cute. It's just a little popover dress. Doesn't have a zipper or anything. You just throw it over your head. No buttons, no zippers. Elasticized waist. Another very, very 80s blouse. Just lovely. Has all of these different styles for the neckline and the sleeves. Oh boy. An 80s suit with a trumpet skirt. I actually really like the trumpet skirt. The rest of the suit I think is a little bit boring, but Oh, more sundresses. I feel like I'm going to have to like destash some of my patterns and look and see if I have sundresses, because, All right, see, here's the mother of all culottes. Look at them. Oh, they're great. Actually, these pants in general are just really cool. I love the this one here, which is like the paper bag. I used to call it the paper bag waistline. Another jumpsuit, because it wouldn't be the 80s without jumpsuits. Remarkably, though, these sell really well for me now. I think a lot of younger women who are getting into sewing are doing the jumpsuits. Yeah, I like the flat front and the wide legs on stuff too. I just do. I never got into the pleats. Here's another designer that I have several patterns by. I have no idea who they are, but they sell pretty well. It's a suit pattern by Leal. I guess it's pronounced Leal. And oh, look what I found. Another Kathy Hardwick. Remember, I sold that other Kathy Hardwick. I told you guys the stories that I actually sold it to someone who watches these videos, which I thought was amazing. I just felt like, I don't know. It just felt so, I felt so proud, I guess would be the right word. Yeah, pleats never really did anybody any good, because if you had a bit of a tummy and you wore pleats, it emphasized it. Whereas if you wear a flat front, even with a little bit of a tummy, you don't see it as much. So this shirt's amazing because it comes with all of these collar variations and then 2 sleeve variations. And I had 2 of these, so I'm pretty excited about, see, it has the 2 sleeve lengths and then these multiple variations for the collars. Oh, yes. Can we talk about the love of everything asymmetrical back in the 80s? I've seen asymmetrical top patterns. Here are the asymmetrical pants. And I had them. I had something kind of similar. Butterick. I actually had this pattern and sold it a couple months ago. When it came back around, I swore I already had it. I'm looking all over my site for it. And it was driving me crazy. So I actually went into my sold patterns and I could see that I had sold it back in the summer. This is, that last one and this one are definitely 90s patterns. I remember this kind of line in the 90s. This was interesting. That's a hoodie. It doesn't really look like it, but when you look at the line drawing, you can see that it's actually a hoodie. So this is some early athleisure patterns that we have here from Family Circle, no less. Another 90s dress, kind of quintessentially 90s. The jumper dress. Oh, and this pattern. Okay. So this was an interesting pattern. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, well, that's, it's like a formal pattern. They're showing you in sequins. And when I was working on it, there's actually a separate piece of tissue, not piece of tissue, a separate set of directions that shows you how to work with sequins, how you remove the sequins where you need to do the seam. It was really interesting. I thought that was great. What a great pattern, And then Butterick, the high-low top. I think this was late 80s, maybe early 90s. I can't remember exactly. This pattern, I think, is from... So this is from 88. So this is kind of right in that time. We have another kind of, quintessential 80s shirt pattern. Really cute. And again, I'm going to apologize, but this one, I think I showed you guys too. I think I showed you guys this one already. Anyway, it's coat and or jacket. And then here's our very last one. Another jumpsuit, or you can do it as a dress with the little bolero jacket. And if you look at the back, it's a crossback, which is, always fun, kind of for your overall or your jumpsuit or whatever you want to call it. So that was it for this week. I came across more Western patterns. Now, remember last week I discussed whether I should just create an entire section on my Etsy page for Western. And I found so many patterns this week, I decided to do it because I now have a whole box over here that's men's patterns, but a good portion of those men's patterns are Western. Plus I have women's Western patterns. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to commit to doing a section on my Etsy page for Western because there must be people into it if I'm finding this many patterns. Now they're older patterns, but still, Oh, someone is joining us from Norway. You know what? This is the person I was just talking about. Welcome. We also have somebody joining us from Ireland. I'm so sorry you're joining us this late. We're almost done, but that's okay. You can always watch the whole thing over again. So as I was saying, I'm going to do a section that's just Western because I was just finding, I even found more when I was going through the patterns that just came out of this bag that I did this morning. There were a couple modern patterns. I think they might have been by McCall's, maybe Simplicity, but they were for like a Western style skirt. So I guess there's a market for it. So I'm going to add that tab. So next week is going to be, I don't know what next week is going to be because I've now gotten to the point where all of the patterns are mixed. They're mixed. They're a good mix between, your really serious vintage and then your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, your 90s. So I'm just going to be grabbing patterns and ironing them and putting them up. So I guess next week, you're running to my Etsy store now. Make sure you use the code. The code is Hussey, HUSSEY 10, all one word and all caps. Make sure you use that when you check out. You'll get an additional 10% off. And yes, I like making money on Etsy, but honestly, I like people getting patterns that they love. And I like sending patterns I love to people who will love them. I know it's weird. It's like fostering patterns. I've fostered dogs before, and it's very hard when you have to say goodbye to them, but you're also so happy when they find like a home where someone's just going to adore them as much as you do. So yeah, speaking of Etsy, just a quick update of something that happened this week. If any of you have been watching the Silicon Valley Bank implode, guess which bank Etsy uses for all of its services. So I woke up Saturday morning to a thing from Etsy, and I'm like very nervous, right? I'm like, oh my God, what? Somebody didn't like a pattern, like what, what's going on? And so I open it up, right? And it says, please, what was it? Please bear with us as we deal with a temporary situation with Silicon Valley Bank. Well, I'd already heard about Silicon Valley Bank. They basically closed all their branches. They're out of business and they're a bank. So Etsy only owed me about $84. So it's not the end of the world. They had actually paid me 100 something earlier in the week. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm worried about money going forward. Also, because I'm listing all these patterns, I'm eating up some of that, some of the money that they quote owe me. So I'm not real happy about that, Etsy. Yeah, I'd really like to know where your money is and how you're going to pay me, because people keep buying stuff from me. I'm keeping up my end of the bargain. You need to keep your own end of the bargain up, right? So hopefully that will get resolved. But so I'm starting to lose my voice, unfortunately. You guys can probably hear it a little bit. And that was all the patterns I have for today. So until next time, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment. I love comments. Thank you all for joining me. We will do this again next Sunday, even if I forget to post something. I took a picture of that pattern, like I was saying earlier. So I'm gonna have to play with it so that I can use it as a thumbnail, because it's not on Etsy anymore, so you can't get a closer look at it. Any other pattern that you saw, you really want to get a better look at, just go to my Etsy store and you'll see it, because everything I did like this weekend in the last couple of hours or yesterday is the very first page you're going to see. So you'll be able to get a little bit better look at them. And until then, I hope you're all well. I hope wherever you are, the weather's good. Ours has been warmer, but raining pretty much every day, and which I hate. So spring's on its way. I just have to remember all of these March showers are going to bring flowers, because we already have plants budding, and there's some crocuses around my apartment complex. But until then, I hope you're all doing well. I hope the weather is great where you are, and have a great week. And I will see you next Sunday at 2 p.m. And thank you for coming by.